All right, welcome to the world's only Animorphs podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is really exciting. This is the inaugural introductory episode. My name is Michael.
My name is Max.
Y'all, we're doing this after, man, how long has it been, Max? Months of talking about
this. At least a year. In fact, I just saw a post the other day that the show that we originally were talking to each other at was a year ago.
Okay. Well, this is going to be an introductory episode where we kind of describe who we are, why we're doing this, why you should listen, and what your part as a listener is going to be in this super exciting new podcast that we have. My name is Michael. I'm a podcaster and a huge fan of Animorphs. Yeah, right. I mean, like Max and I met, and then he came on another podcast that I had. And we found out our common love of Animorphs not long after that. Why don't you tell the people who you are, Max?
I am Max. I am a musician here. Got a few bands I play in. Won't worry about mentioning them right now. Maybe you'll find out later, or maybe you already know. But I say, man, I've been loving Animorphs ever since I discovered them back in grade school. Ran into him at the Scholastic Book Fair and was immediately attracted to the book. I think it's number 5, the one with Marco turning into a gorilla.
The gorilla, yeah. And it's a first Marco book.
Yeah. And even though I think that was also like the earliest book that they had. Like when I saw them, they had like that one and then the next one and the one after that. I think it was the one with Rachel turning into a bear and then like maybe Cassie, and I think maybe she was book 4. I'd have to look now. But
well, it's funny you mentioned the first time you heard about them was at a book fair, because I was thinking earlier today, when is the first time that I came across Animorphs? And that was my guess, is it was probably one of those book fairs that used to come through school, and they would have all these series. And then as a kid, you know, like we're the same age. Max and I, we're in our 30s, so we were at primo age when this came out. And so, like, as a kid, as a young boy, probably especially that back then, you see a book where, like, a kid's turning into a lizard or a kid's turning into a gorilla. And it's like, you're just immediately attracted to that. And then the whole sci-fi element of it, man. So I can't remember the exact moment when I first came across this series, but, dude, there's 3 or 4 years, I guess 2 or 3 years of my adolescence where just these books were just everything to me. You know, I just could not wait for the next one to come out.
Same.
I would talk my mom into letting me buy 2 copies of some of the books because I was convinced they would become collector's items, kind of like comic books.
Very well may be starting down that road.
Oh yeah, because there's, you know, we'll get to some current news in Animorphs that makes it pretty relevant today. But man, I was just used to be so excited reading these books, and it's so cool that we're doing this now, because that's the thing I like the most. I get to go back and read all of these, you know?
Yes. Yeah, it's been probably 10, 15 years or more. I'd have to really think about when the last time was as an adolescent that I actually read them. Because I think it was whenever they kind of like got to the end of the series, and then I finished it and was like, all right, moving on to the next thing. I think it was around that time that I got transitioned over to Harry Potter. And then just the rest of life happened.
Yeah. Was Animorphs like the first series of like book series that you were into, or was there one before that?
No, yeah, that was the first actual series. Any other books before that were just random like one-off books like Frendel or something like that from same Scholastic Book Fair. It was the main source of any of my material that I used to read as a kid.
Well, we're going to get into all of it. We've both read, I think you're up to book 2 now. I just finished book 1. And so basically what we're going to do with this podcast, we're going to go book by book, episode by episode. We will not have spoilers as we progress. So like basically we're going to treat each episode almost as if we don't know what happens in the rest of the series. Right. But, you know, of course it's impossible to ignore some stuff, some setups and things. So we'll make subtle references to that. But if you would like to read these books along with us, you can check the description of this podcast, find out how to read all of the Animorphs books online. And I would definitely recommend read a book and then listen to the episode that corresponds to that book. So that's kind of how this is going to be built out. Yeah. It's going to be cool, man. It's so cool going back to read book 1, which we'll talk about in the next episode. And it's just like this is such an expansive series, you know, and there's just so much to get into. Dude.
So in depth. There's so many. Each book on its own, like I was saying earlier, has got so much content to deal with. So many things happening just in the one book, you know, that you can spend probably more than one episode on each book. But I think it's a good idea to just keep going one episode at a time and get you guys to read along with us.
Yes. And it'd be cool to do some live episodes down the line, get some interaction with the audience going on as well. We found out today that another storyline we'll be following, in addition to the storyline of the Animorphs books, will be that we're going to keep our finger on the pulse of the progress of the Animorphs movie that was announced in June 2020. As that develops. So we're going to definitely keep an eye on that. And then something we just found out today, they're going to be coming out at the time we're recording this is not out yet, but Scholastic is actually planning to launch a graphic novel adaptation of Animorphs.
That's going to be sick.
Starting in October. Bro, you think we should like have separate episodes for those or the same, or like maybe we'll figure it out as we go?
Probably figure it out later on, but I would say we could get through the whole series and then focus on how they do the interpretation, or even because it won't be out by the time we get through the first sets of books.
That's
so we'll
true.
have to kind of like retroactively.
Yeah, this is the best time I think to be doing this, because this book series has never gone away. This is not just a podcast of strictly nostalgia. I mean, reading book one after years and years of reading it the last time. I'm so involved in these characters, and I'm so excited to go through it. And you know, I say we. It's so popular now, you know, just the fact that they're making a movie is a testament to that. And so this is going to be really cool to see the cultural significance of Animorphs grow as we do this podcast. That's going to be fun.
I was kind of really upset as a kid whenever they finally got a TV show made out of it, and it just like went nowhere. They got barely one season out of it. And I know a large part of it was the way they ended up portraying some of the non-human characters in the series. And Man, I mean, imagine trying to do this back in the 90s with 90s technology,
you know, and, you know, now I think things have gotten a lot better. I'm glad they waited this long to seriously start announcing progress on a movie, because I think now the special effects are up to snuff. And if they really put some money behind it, and you know that whoever is at the helm of this project is most likely very into Animorphs themselves, so I'm sure they're going to do a good job with it.
You'd like to hope so.
You'd like to hope so. You're going to hear two angry podcasters if it ends up being not very good. But dude, honestly, this graphics novel is going to be really cool.
I'm sure we can somehow get Reddit and the rest of the internet to bond together like they did over Sonic and get stuff corrected.
Demand changes. That's the bottleneck that's a bottle that Sonic opened up. Now the fans have all the power. Yeah. Okay, and we should say that you know, if you're a fan of the series of Animorphs, you know there are offshoot series such as the Andalite Chronicles, Elemis Chronicles, Hork-Bajir
Megamorphs,
Alternamorphs, all those. And so I think what we talked about is that we're going to go ahead and throw those in, right? Like, so we're going to go in order, guys. If you look at the order of books in which they were released back in the day, that is the order that we're going to go in. So I think it is after books, like 5 or 6 when the first Megamorph comes around? 7, I think.
I think it's
somewhere around
7 to 9 in that ballpark.
7 to 9. So we're going to follow it in chronological order. Once again, we'll keep it light on spoilers. So if this is your first time going through it, or like if you're like me and you vaguely remember some of these stories,
right,
and you still kind of want to discover them as you read, this is a safe zone to do that in. Why don't you talk about Max Wonders? Like, hey, I'll have some questions, you know, for throughout, you know, in each episode. Okay. I'll have a few questions where we kind of deep dive into.
Yeah, I'll probably try and do one specific to the book that we're on each time, and then I'll have just general questions that you know, about, you know, various aspects of the series that aren't necessarily addressed, probably because they're impertinent things, but just like random thoughts that came across my mind late at night. Then I'm like, well, I never really thought about that, but now that I'm an adult and that's a factor in my life.
Yeah.
I wonder how all of that, like procreation. How did that work for some of these aliens?
Yeah, among Andalites and Yeerks, like how is this done? So
Yeerks especially. What?
who maybe they're biologically similar to slugs? Who really knows?
You would have to assume, yeah.
Max is going to be bringing up the real questions throughout throughout this
deep
podcast.
Questions.
One for each, a few for each episode. We're also going to go through all the morphs that they take. Each morph they acquire, we're going to list those off. And what's another thing that's exciting about this podcast is that we have sort of a playbook. We have like the bare bones infrastructure for what this is. We have some plans, but then as this develops, we're going to have things that are a lot more in place. We're going to take your ideas into account, a sweet listener, and just kind of think of fun stuff for us. But, dude, Max, I can't wait to really get into this, man. This is so much fun. I'm glad that after all this time, we're finally starting the world's only Animorphs podcast.
The only one that you need to worry about anyway.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, this is the world's only Animorphs podcast. Coming up on in our series next will be Episode 1.
The Invasion.
The Invasion. Shout out to K.A. Applegate for being such a boss. And maybe someday we'll have her on the show. What do you think?
That'd be dope.
We'll have to get K.A. before the movie starts.
Yes.
Starts the promo run, because then it'll be hard to grab her. But.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, remember to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Welcome to this universe of this podcast. It's all about the Animorphs here. And it's all about Animorphs, man. So maybe I'm trying to think of some like catchy catchphrase for the end, but I don't have any right now.
Yeah,
that's
either.
okay. It's the intro.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, guys, stay tuned and enjoy yourselves. Go read Animorphs. It's free. Goodbye.